我靠，不是，那个好像是它电线被。
The Spanish Meteorological Service has declared a red alert for the eastern parts of the Valencia region due to heavy rain. Thursday, a repeat of the flooding that killed 235 people in the area last October. Spanish National Meteorological Service warned of extreme danger and a very difficult situation in Tarragona, Castellón and Valencia on a Sunday and Monday. On this warning was echoed Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez. Citing of meteorological warning, Sánchez urged citizens to follow the instruction of the emergency service to all times. Local official announced that school and college, libraries and parks, as well as public space including gardens, markets and cemeteries would be closed in the Valencia on a Monday. Overnight rains caused local flooding and overflowing of Rio Aldea, one of the town hardest hit by October 2024 flooded that killed more than 213 people. No casualties have been reported. On a Sunday afternoon, residents of the city received a red weather alert on this phone. The flooding caused by heavy rains in October last year were exacerbated by the effect of climate change. As a warning atmosphere holds mother water, climate change increasing the risk and intensity of the flood from extreme rainfall. Local residents stretched a series of protests against for the believed this mismanagement of last year's crisis calamity. The regional offices did not warn in the time, despite the fact that meteorological service had issued warning. Farmers in Lower Saxony reported devastation, losers in their crops and greenhouses, and about destroyed it. Insurance experts warned that the damage could be cost millions, placing in additional body and economy elderly and person. Germany Chancellor Olaf Scholz expressed condolences of the family to the victims and promised swift federal aid. We stand together in the face of this catastrophe, he said, adding the climate adaptation must become a national priority. Meteorologists warn the storm and the magnitude may become more frequent as a warning season to call unstoppable weather across North Europe. At a time, rescue operations continue in flooded town in a mountains valley, with the soldiers, firefighters and volunteers working side by side. For many Germans, in storm will be remembered not only the force but as document of the growing risk of climate change. Several European nations have been struck by a wave of violent hailstorm, leaving behind the scene of chaos, destruction and disbelief. From northern Italy to southern Germany, Austria and parts of France, residents awakened the road coated in ice, damaged vehicles and crops destroyed it in the fields. Meteorologists say the storm were followed by the clash of moist Mediterranean air with a strong cold front from the northern Europe, creating a supercell condition. Hailstorms are some larger than golf ball pounding the city center and rural area alike. In Munich, cars were left with the shattered white spreads, while the Bologna, Italy public transport was paralyzed. The hail-covered tram stack. Agriculture Associational report to severe losses. Vineyard in Tuscany and orange in Austria suffered significant damage, for the farmers described the storm as worse in the case. One farmer near Verona lamented, "In 10 minutes we lost what we had worked for all year." Emergency services were inundated with vehicles. Dozens of injuries were reported, mainly from the falling hail and the raw accident caused by sudden ice leaks. Firefighters in Austria rescued motorists stranded on a highway blackened in ice, while the France-Rhone Valley flooded added the crisis and a hail-blocked drains. Video shattered widely online showed iconic city squares buried under a layer of ice, sparked disbelief among the viewers. Tourists caught on the storm described as apocalyptic in windy like winter in the middle of summer. Experts warn that Europe have seen a rise in extreme hail events in recent years, where the climate change likely intensify weather volatility. Scientists note that the winter air cold most may issue falling thunderstorm capable of production large destructive hail. Central Europe was not less affected. In Switzerland and Austria, transport was paralyzed. Trains were stopped due to landslides and flights were cancelled in Zurich and Vienna. In Poland, emergency services received hundreds of calls and trees blocked major highways and power lines fell. Meteorologists explained the storm straight the collision to the warm Mediterranean air with a cold Arctic front, which according to one expert created perfect conditions to the storm. Climatologist Marcus Keller warned, such extreme weather not longer a rarity. They are becoming a new norm. At least 20 people have been reported dead and hundreds injured across Europe. Tens of thousands of people remain without electricity. European leaders have promised to provide aid and food to recovery, but it could take weeks to rebuild. For many, this night of destruction will be forever etched to their memories. As one of the Munich residents said, Europe has seen storms before, but never have so much countries have been hit so hard at the same time. The storm also suffered the European transport network. Rail service hit in Germany and France suffered severe disruption, while airport in Milan, Brussels and Prague experienced significant delay. Trucks were banned from the driving in some area Italy due to dangerous crosswalks. Meteorologists warn that climate change may be felt to intensify of this storm. We are seeing more frequent and violent weather events across Europe, said Dr. Hans Keller, a climate scientist in Berlin. European leaders pledged to carry off rapid relief force. France deployed military engineers to clear blocked roads, while Germany announced emergency funds to support reconstruction efforts. EU officials trusted to need a get continental cooperation to deal with the climate-related disaster. For millions of people across Europe, this storm was not just a night to extreme weather, but another stark reminder of the continent's growing vulnerability to the fury of nature. Tours were equally astonishing. Video circulated widely on social media showing iconic landmarks surrounded by palms and hills, sparking combination of northern European winter. Although the warning of potential group damage in nearly laser farmland, particularly vineyards and olive groves. Experts note that while hailstorms are not unusual in the central Italy, an intensity of the scale and episode underline a growing volatile weather patterns linking to climate change. A cleanup operations continue. Residents are left reflecting on yet another reminder of nature forcing the city form of the history but increasingly tested by modern climate extremes.
Well, that's one hell of a hailstorm.
Istanbul was hit by a sudden and severe hailstorm that turned a bustling metropolis into a scene of chaos and destruction. The storm, which lasted less than an hour, brought hailstones the size of a golf ball. smashed windows, damaged cars, and injuring dozens of people who were outdoors. The city streets were quickly covered with a white layer of hail, with a blockade and severe and causing sudden flooding. Major highways, including Bosphorus Bridge, were paralyzing, and cars were unable to drive through the city's sewers. Public transport was severely disrupted. Tram lines were blocked and ferry service across the strait were suspended. Istanbul International Airport also reported delays after runways were briefly covered in hail. Emergency service responded there hundreds of calls, rescuing people trapped in their cars and clearing collapsing owners and a heat collapsing under the weight of hail. Hospitals treated dozens of people and cars and a heat injuries, and authority confirmed at least 2 deaths related to this storm. Residents described a sense of panic. It felt like the sky was falling. The noise of hail falling on the roof was different. In a matter of minutes, our streets looked like a cat snow white, said Ice Demir, a shop owner in Kadio. Video posted online showed buses stuck knee-deep in the water and trees blocked by the force of the storm. Agriculture in the surrounding Marmara region suffered significant damage. Vineyard and orchards were damaged, threatening in the harvest and local livelihood. Insurance companies are already estimated the damage of tens of millions of euros. Rome was struck by unexpected violent hailstorm, transforming ancient streets into rivers of ice. Within the minutes, the Italian capital, known for its warm autumn nights, was pelted by hailstorms the size of walnuts, created on unusual winter scenes of mid-October. According to meteorologists, the phenomenon resulted from the violent collisions between most Mediterranean air and the sudden cold front from northern Europe. These collisions swept the massive cumulonimbus clouds, bringing torrential rain and intense hail accompanied by gusts reaching 19 km per hour. It felt like being inside an ice-filled washed machine, said the residents near Pisa, Venezia. Emergency services were overwhelmed by hundreds of calls. Firefighters rescued drivers trapped in the flooded cars, and subway station closed due to flooding. Major throughout the lack of cars and streets along the Tiber River become impossible. Rome is not structurally equipped to handle with the kids of weather, noted Luca Bianchi of the City of Civil Protection Department. Our system simply cannot cope with the sudden extreme rainfall. Hospital treated doesn't injure after slippery on frozen sidewalks. This collision swapped the powerful rotation thunderstorm known the supercell, generated giant hailstorm the hurricane-force gas. Dozens of flights were delayed at Milan Malpensa Airport and Florenza Peretola Airport, while the rail service forced major disruption. Devastating damage occurred in the rural area. Vineyard in Prosecco and Chianti region suffered extensive damage, where the initial estimated protection agriculture losses exceeded 18 million euros. Farmers described the storms as brutal and unprecedented. Julia Relandi, a vineyard owner in Lombardy, stated, "I've never seen hail with a beak. In 10 minutes, my entire harvest was lost." Video shared on social media showed vehicles buried in a hail, roads resembled sky shoals, and the shop plow crews clearing ice with the build zones. Environmental experts warned that the climate change from rising Mediterranean sea temperatures are making such violent storms more frequent. This is no longer a rare phenomenon, noted the Dr. Mato Polfe, a climate scientist and the University of Florence. Warmer air holds more energy and emits too, creating ideal conditions for the formation of destructive hailstorms. As a recovery efforts continue across Italy, these storms serve as dark reminder of Europe rapidly changing weather patterns and how our sun-drenched region and face relentless power of unstoppable climate. A violent storm has battered Germany, causing strong winds, torrential rain and widespread disruption north from the North Sea to Bavaria. The system, one of the most intense of the season, was uprooted trees, torn off roofs and left hundreds of thousands of people without power. In Hamburg and Bremen, storm surge flooded riverside neighborhoods and emergency crews rushed to build bird as the Elbe River overflowed. In Berlin, fallen trees blocked major roads in the tram lines, forcing communities to find alternative routes. Munich International Airports reported more than 100 cancelled flights, while trains in Bavaria and Saxony were halted due to the debris in tracks. Authorities confirmed multiple fatalities, including driver crushed by the fallen trees and the rescue workers swept away by the floodwaters. Dozens of people were injured by many debris flying through the city center. Hospital reported an increase in emergency admissions overnight. Residents described the storm as apocalyptic. The wind sounded like a freight train outside my window. We were building and shaking, said Anne Miller, a resident of Berlin. On a Monday, tornadoes swept through the area and North Parish, knocking down trees, construction cranes, killing one person and seriously injuring four others, authorities said. The town of Airmont, located about 20 km northwestern of Parish, was hardest hit, with a sudden whirlwind damaged about 10 neighborhoods. Regional professor Jill Rebraz said 23-year-old construction worker died at a construction site and 10 people were injured, for them critically. Authorities said the tornado knocked down cranes and turned off-road. Interior Minister Larry News said to Platform X that was a storm, sudden of rare intensity. He added, I am closely monitoring the situation and experienced by a supportive official. Rescue at the scene the affected residents. I offer my condolences on the family and loved one of the deceased. Paris, the French capital, was brought to standstill on Wednesday, and the night a sudden and violent storm swept across northern France, unleashed in torrential rain, furious winds and dramatic lightning over the heart of Paris. Within just 19 minutes, more than 100 millimeters of rain fell in a hardest downpour recorded in over 2 decades. The instability created perfect conditions to the supercell formation, explained meteorologist Elena Caruso. The hamstone size of the speed formation are extraordinary for this season. Several flights to Catania Fortenerosa Airport were delayed due to low visibility and lighting activity, while local trains between Palermo and Messina were suspended after debris covered the track. Farmers across the central Sicily have reported severe crop damage, particularly to vineyard and citrus grove. They destroyed nearly half of the harvest, said vineyard owner Salvatore Giotto. In 13 years, I never seen hail like this. Video shared on social media showed rivers and white hail racing through the streets in Palermo, while the residents used shovels to clear pathway in the after of snowstorm. Power outages were reported in the multiple municipalities, and several coastal towns experienced shocked by intense flooding. Experts warn that such extreme events are becoming increasingly common. Mediterranean regions like Sicily are highest vulnerable in the climate experts, said climatologist Dr. Paolo Leone. Farmers estimated the dramatic at $1 million, especially in vineyards that produced world-famous wines. It's devastating, said Jean-Paul Lefroom, a winemaker near Lyon. In just 10 minutes, the works in the entire season was destroyed. Further east in Croatia and Slovenia, hailstones the size of eggs smashed windows and stripped streets bare. Emergency service worked through the night and cleared debris to restore power to affected areas. Local authority described the damage as serious and extensive. Meteorologists across Europe are linking the surge in severe hailstorm to rising temperature and atmospheric instability. The Mediterranean is warming faster than the global average, warning climatologist Dr. Elena Moretti. This creates ideal conditions to explosive storm to formation of giant hailstorm. The European Severe Laboratory reported that more than 400 hail-related incidents were recorded in 34 hours, of extremely high number of October. Experts warned that such events, once considered rare, and now becoming more common due to the effects of climate change. Cleanup efforts are underway across the continent, and insurance companies are assessing the extent of the damage. From broken skylights in Rome and flooded streets in Munich and stories fury that what yet another stark reminder that Europe weather is becoming more unpredictable and dangerous in areas. Madrid has been plunged into chaos after a powerful storm swept across the Spanish capital, bringing torrential rain, gale force winds and flash flooding that left entire neighborhoods underwater. In just few hours, more than a month was in rain, overwhelming drainage and transformed streets into fast-flowing rivers. Cars were swept away, metro station flooded, and a power lines collapsed, plunged parts of the city in darkness. It was terrified, said Lauza Fernandez, a shop assistant who was received from the standard car. The water rose so quickly, I thought I would make it out alive. Authority confirmed several fatalities and dozens of injured. Hundreds of residents were evacuated from basements in low-lying homes, and emergency service working around the clock, often wading chest deep through the flood waters. Public transportation suffered severe disruption. Madrid metro network were particularly shut, while train and buses forced long delays. Barajas International Airport suspended flight for several hours, stranded passengers amidst scenes of confusion. Tourists were also caught in the chaos, with landmarks like Puerta del Sol and Plaza Major submerged. Videos shared online showed hailstones bouncing across historic squares and water pouring down the steps of the Prada Museum. In surrounding region, farmland was badly hit. Vineyards and olive groves were inundated just weeks before harvest, threatening significant agricultural losers. Economists warned the storm financial toll could run into hundreds of millions euros. Meteorologists explained that the storm was triggered by a clash between humid Mediterranean air cold Atlantic front intensified by record summer heat. Experts warn that climate change is increasing to frequency such extreme weather events across the Spain, already one of Europe's most climate vulnerable nations. Video posted on social media showed hailstones up to 15 centimeters in the side, with the Romans cleared sidewalks and shovels and brooms. Tourists near Colosseum and Trevi Fountain took shelters under umbrellas, captured dramatic footage and marble-sized ice balls bouncing for the ancient stones. Authority urged cautions for the nighttime. Temperatures dropped, tuning wet streets in a dangerously slippery surface. Public transport was severely disrupted, with the trams and buses delayed for hours. Rome Major Roberto Galleri pressed emergency service for their rapid immediate response and promised to investigate the city drainage infrastructure, which has long been critical for the instability to the cope with a sudden downpour. Rome is facing for more regular and intense weather events. We must adapt our system. Climatologists note that extreme weather events, including hailstorms in the southern Europe, have increased by 14% for the past decade. This is a clear signal for climate change, warning Dr. Elena Bianchi at the University of Bologna. In the heart of the Mediterranean, the Italian island of Sicily has long been seasonally with the sun of the tenting coastline and seductive blend of the history and culture. However, this idyllic landscape is recently has been transformed in dramatic scene of nature fury. A formidable storm marked by resounding rain and the fierce winds and lashed Sicily, unveiling the vulnerable of even the most picturesque square of the region with the firms of weather. The storm onslaught was achieved with the meteorologists barely able to predict and intensify before the unleashed food and made the ape of fury. Winning our streets and town crosses across the Sicily were inundated, transformed urban center into unwelcoming, water-loaded mazes. The rain, increasing unforgiving, pointed the green portrait of the region undesigned by the elements. In Palermo, the Sicilian capital, scenes in the chaos unfolded. As streets and usually burst with the life and aroma of Sicily, crashed while deserted save from a sectional vehicle struggling against the rising water. The iconic Massimo, a testament of Sicily agriculture, dangerous stood with the silence within to unflooding calamity. A powerful storm system was battered much of Europe, leaving a trail of destruction, transport, chaos, and a human tragedy in this way. The storm, which brought hurricane-force wind, torrential rain, and heavy snowfall in high areas, has affected countries such as France, Germany, Poland, Austria, and Balkans. In a Paris, wind knocked down trees and damaged roofs, while trains and flights were delayed. In Bavaria, Germany, hail and strong gusts battered small towns, breaking windows and damaged vehicles. The Netherlands reported severe coastal flooding as waves to 6-meter-high hit decks and pots. Authorities confirmed at least a dozen fatalities across the continent, including drivers caught in the flash flooding and persistent stuck by fallen debris. Hundreds of thousands of homes were left without power overnight, and emergency service received thousands of calls. Witnesses described terrified conditions. The roof of our town was lifted up 10 feet away in the where paper said, now walking the South Poland. In Austria, sky reports were cut off by avalanches, trapped tourists and the staff. We are dealing with a widespread roof damage and power outage, said Bavarian Fire Chief Markus Keller, who described the situation as apocalyptic. In southern France, vineyard and orange severely damaged, with some region reported a total loss of crops. Farmers in province of Rhône-Alpes region experienced a disaster after huge hailstones destroyed their vineyards. The storm took everything. Laminate windmark pulp, Gerald, the harvest we have been waiting for all year is gone. In Central and Eastern Europe, hailstorm intensified. In Poland, the city of Krakow was hit by torrential rain, by freezing rain that flooded streets and damaged cars. In Austria, large hailstorms caused flights, delays, and forced airports at the close temperatures. Meteorologists attributed this storm weather is unstable atmospheric layers, which are intensified due to global warming. Europe is now experiencing for more connective storms, phenomena accompanied by supercell lighting and giant hailstones, explained Dr. Petra Long in European Meteorological Observatory. This is not a longer rarity, is becoming part of new normal. Authorities across the continent continue to assess the damage, warning the future determination is weather conditions. While cleanup crews work to repair the damage caused by the ice storm, many residents describe the surreal scene. Summer streets transformed into winter landscape in a matter of minutes. Raising the alarm over significant damage to crops, vineyard and olive groves, kept the region economy, where damaged raising costs about the shortage and price tracks. Local markets lost fresh produce, water and ice and destroyed market stalls. Dramatic video approached the social media showing hailstone pelted down of the Colosseum with some clip centimeters of the view of meteor in hour. Meteorologists warned that such severe meteor previously rare in Rome could become common in rising sea temperatures intensify storm in the southern Europe. At Rome, clean ice from the streets and eases the financial damage. The storm has represented the debate about the urban resilience, climate change adaptation, and the Italian capital's preparedness for the increasingly unpredictability of nature. Meteorologists from Italy's Civil Protection Agency described the phenomenon as a supercell outbreak. While rare in southern Europe, such events are becoming more frequent. The contrast between extreme heat and a cold front from the Alps created the perfect storm, explained senior meteorologist Dr. Andrea Lombardi. This level of intensity used to occur once every 10 years, but how it happened every year. Severe damage occurred in rural area. Farmers in poor river basin reported corn, tomato, and grape crops crushed by hail. Some farms suffered total destruction just before harvest, with the initial estimated putting damage over 100 million euros. Luigi Ferrara, a farmer in Emilia-Romagna, said, "It looked like a battlefield. Everything we built the season is gone." Images shared on social media showed cars buried in a hill, roads covered in knee-deep ice, and the rescue workers navigating parts of white-like sky slow. In Florence, heavy hail following the hill causing into Arno River to temporarily overflow, flooding low-lying areas. This was an unexceptional weather event, said Franco Delit, spokesman of French National Meteorological Service, Meteo France. The storm formed rapidly over the Atlantic and intensified it as it reached the Paris basin, a pattern we have seen more often due to rising sea surface temperatures. Paris Mayor Ana Hidalgo urged residents to remain caution, warning they feel the storm forecast in the coming days. We are facing the realities of the climate change, she said. Our city must strengthen the drainage system and emergency infrastructure. As the drone broke, Paris woke a scene of chaos, flooded metro assistant, trenches, debris streets, and smelled the wet stone rising from the historic ruins. Yet, when the damage many experienced relieved the scene of the remained below critical flood levels. Paris was seen centuries of the storm, said local historian Jean-Luc Bernard. But each time we are reminded no beauty and fragility walk hand in hand in the city. Several European countries are assessing the damage after severe hailstorm swept across the continent, leaving a trail of destruction from France and Italy to Germany, Austria and Switzerland. The storm intensified the unstoppable air masses that collided over Central Europe, produced hailstones the size of a tennis ball that mashed a car, damaged roofs and injured hundreds of people. In northern Italy, cities in Lombardy and Veneto saw streets covered in ice and hospitals treated dozens and partying for cars in a heat injury caused by broken glass. In Bavaria, Germany, cars were left covered in dents and vineyards suffered catastrophic damage. It was like bombing, saying Hans Killer, a farmer's near Munich. In 10 minutes, our entire harvest were destroyed. Austria, also facing chaos in emergency service, responded to collapsed roofs and blocked highways. In Switzerland, tourists in Lorenz and Alps scalped dramatic footage in hailstorms, pulled it up like snowdrifts, transformed summer landscape in winter owns. Flights in Zurich and Geneva airports were delayed and cancelled after hail-damaged parked planes. Meteorologists said the storm was caused by the collisions between the Mediterranean air and the cold northern front, exacerbating the recorded summer heat across Europe. Scientists warn that climate change is contributed to more frequent and destructive hailstorms and in the continent growing climate-related problems. Agriculture has been hit hardest, heat damaged estimates of hundreds and millions of euros. Vineyard, orange and cornfield across Central Europe has been destroyed, threatening both in local economy and a food supply chain. Insurance companies are already preparing for one of the most expensive weather events in the year. Government has promised to provide assistance and clean up on the aftermath and the initial disaster by sending soldiers in a rural area to clear roads and protect damaged homes from the further rain. However, for the many residents, the storm was stuck remaining in the increasing severity of extreme weather events. A powerful storm tore through Rome, Italy late Tuesday evening, drenched the capital in torrential rain and battered with violent wind and hail. The tempest, which lasted less than an hour, caused severe flooding, damaged historic landmarks and left thousands without power. In just 14 minutes, parts of the city recorded over 17 millimeters of rainfall, overlapped drainage system and transformed incident streets into rivers. Cars were left stranded near the Coliseum and Pisa Venezia, while torrents of water surged through the Trastevere and Epati district. It felt apocalyptic, said Marco De Angelis, the shop owner in the city center. I saw lightning strike in the Tiber River and the sky turned and the electric white. The noise was different. Authorities reported hundreds of emergency calls across the metropolitan area. Firefighters walked through the night, rescuing motorists, cleaned up fallen trees and pumped water from the underground garages. Public transport was heavily disrupted. Several metro lines suspended severe after tunnels flooded. Meteorologists blamed the event and the sudden Mediterranean cyclone intensified by unusually warm sea temperatures. This is not a typical storm, explained the Dr. Luisa Ferrara, a climatologist at Rome Tor Vergata University, where witnessed more the aggressive atmospheric system linking the warm climate. What was happening once decade now happening yearly. Videos showed online showed hail of the size of a coin pelting the Spanish steps and lightning bolts illuminated the dome of St. Peter Balska. Emergency scenes echoed across the city. The storm cell moved through, leaving a trail of debris in its wake. Rome, a powerful autumn storm hit the Italian capital late on Sunday evening, bringing torrential rain, violent winds and lightning that left several neighborhoods in the darkness. Streets turned into raging rivers and the Tiber overflowing in low-lying areas, leaving cars submerged and paralyzing public transport. Emergency service reported to receive more than 800 calls in a few hours, with firefighters rescuing dozens of people trapped in the vehicles and underground garage. We haven't seen intensify in the years, said Luca Bianchi in Rome firefighters. The rain was falling fast so 7 simply couldn't cope. The iconic Coliseum neighborhoods and Via del Corso were heavily flooded, forcing tourism to seek shelters in a Boston subway station. Several subway lines were temporarily closed, and flights and Flamingo airports were delayed and diverted due to lightning and strong crosswinds. Meteorologists from Italy's Civil Protection Department saved from the storm and followed by warm Mediterranean air cold in with a cold front from the northern Europe, creating explosive weather conditions. In some area, rainfall exceeded 3.5 inches in less than 2 hours. Local authorities reported thousands of homes temporarily without electricity. The intensity of the rainfall overlapped the city drainage system, officials said. Farmers across southern Spain also suffered major losses. The high of the size of a golf ball damaged crops and greenhouse. This storm destroyed weeks of work, leading it a farmer near Seville. Experts warn that such extreme weather events are becoming more frequent due to climate change. Weather aide Hood Mama is through with a full, more violent storm, explaining climatologist Dr. Gieva Ortega. As the storm moves eastward toward the Mediterranean, cleanup efforts are underway, but many Spaniards are shocked and remain. A violent storm wreaked havoc across large parts of the Europe, bringing torrential rain, strong winds, and widespread flooding that paralyzed both cities and rural communities. The storm, one of the strongest in recent years, they hit countries from Spain, France, and Germany and Poland, leaving millions of people affected. In the northern Italy, roads turned into rivers. In a matter of hours, the rescue service struggled to save motorists who were trapped. In Bavaria, Germany, entire areas were left without power and winds exceeding 113 km/h.